The big summer exhibition at the deCordova Sculpture Park and Museum is a retrospective of a man its curator calls an artist's artist. Tony Feher creates using materials most of us don't give a second thought to. Jared Bowen takes us there.
In the materials Tony Feher uses to create, there is nothing out of the ordinary. Coins, broom handles, jars, lots of them.
These things that are just with us every day, but we just don't pay attention to it because it's an object that has no value or use.
But it's Feher's process to sit with objects, to live with them, and to look.
We all look, but what do we really see? So much of it is just about looking and getting past that it's a plastic bottle. You could draw a line with water now, or you could make a wave in it and it'll stay.
He's really asking us to focus in on these moments of real beauty in our everyday surroundings, to ask us to think about our world in a very different way.
In Feher's first comprehensive retrospective, now on view at the deCordova Sculpture Park and Museum, we marvel at the material we know so well before he reinterprets it. The window re-rendered with blue painter's tape. Pennies that illustrate his lifeline. Marbles that arrest you with their color. In total, as laid out here, it's a topography, says the deCordova's Lexi Lee Sullivan.
And as you're walking through the galleries and you see these floor pieces, it's an interesting perspective of thinking about those works and how things are structured, or in Mountain Home, how it's berry containers that have been structured in sort of a simple architectural ziggurat form.
Feher says he tries not to make art about anything specific. But early on in his career, the longtime New Yorker was fueled by the AIDS crisis that killed so many of his friends.
If you think you're going to be dead in 10 years, well, what does that mean? Well, I started making some pieces that I called decorations for my funeral. There's a piece in the show called Long-Term Pillow, and that's a memorializing of passing and the flowers, the plastic flowers that people leave on graves. The red honey jar, it's like a blood test. It's like a jar of corpuscles. I'm fortunate to say long-term survivor, I'm fat and sassy, and everything is good.
Without formal art training, Feher says he creates with absolute freedom.
It wasn't about making anybody else happy, because you can't, ever. You have to make yourself happy.
And it doesn't matter to you. It doesn't affect you when somebody comes in and says, well, there are only marbles in a jar.
It pisses me off like to no end. Are you kidding? Artists are sensitive creatures, if anything. That's happening less and less, but I mean, it happens.
The deCordova show will do much to dispel that, and most predominantly in this site-specific work where he lined the museum's windows in bottles.
It's a simple act of placing 4 colored liter bottles in the window, but at the same time, it's completely transformative.
I tend to find what I call the trick of the space, of how I can own that space and incorporate the architecture into the artwork. So you're not standing in a room looking at an artwork, you're within the artwork.
Which is the brilliance of Tony Feher, entering his world, which is made out of ours.
Well, when I first started reading about this, I thought, oh, yeah, well, anybody could do that. But really, when you look at that, it's beautiful. It's incredibly creative.
You know, I'll confess that even I, just looking at the catalog, you don't necessarily get a sense. I think it's easy to make that assumption, well, I can put some berry crates together. But no, once you get into this show, I was just stunned at sort of the personal transformation that I had when you immerse yourself with this work, which is exactly what he wants, and you spend time with it and you really absorb it. I mean, you see how brilliant he is to bring in this color and to bring these bottles. I have not stopped thinking about that, the line drawing.
That one with the wave?
Yeah, with the water that lines
blue?
up just perfectly so that you get this wave, so that there is
No,
a
that's
drawing.
the other
and
one.
then this is the painter's tape on a window. It looks like a stained glass window, but it's all that blue painter's tape that we know so well. And look at how intricate and beautiful it is. And it's as gorgeous if you look at it up close as if you pass back. And then, of course, this is this piece that he's done. This is a penny for each year of his life, and he selects the penny each year.
Really?
And that that piece of wood is cut just to the length of, I think it's the oldest person in his family. You know, he's already developing a contingency if it goes beyond. But if you look at the colors and what he does, like here, with ordinary objects.
It's all primary colors for the most part, too.
Right. I love his use of color. You walk into this gallery and you have this explosion of color. And again, I think why it resonates so much is because it's from ordinary objects. And you don't necessarily think about putting them together like he does.
What is the colored water? I don't know how it stays that color. What is in there?
I don't know what his trick is. I actually don't know what he's put in the bottles, but of course he's got a great formula. Because I also have to say that site-specific work where you have these 4-liter bottles all throughout all the exterior windows in the deCordova.
Now, are we
gorgeous.
to assume from what he said that he has AIDS himself?
He does have HIV, and he really was driven. I mean, he was very fortunate. He said he was sort of in a 6-month window. The pharmaceuticals just came into his life at just the right moment, so that he's been able to live and, of course, survive and thrive as an artist. But you know, it's very interesting because I feel like in the last just within the last year, I've met all of these artists in the '80s who have come out of this crisis and make this work. And there's such a community, and because it's been so long, they all thrive as a community.
And this is
now.
there for a while, like September 15th.
September.
Yeah,
yep.
Good. All right. Thanks, Jared.